Most people think they know what happens when a woman stops chasing approval, but they're wrong. Eckhart Tolle believed the mind reacts in surprising, even dangerous ways when we ignore the deepest call within us, the call to presence. What you're about to hear might change how you see desire, attraction, and yourself forever. Today, perhaps more than ever before, people are searching for something deeper, a way to understand themselves beyond the surface labels and fleeting trends. In a world where so many are chasing attention, the rare individuals who radiate calm confidence seem to draw people in without even trying. This is not about beauty in the conventional sense. It is about a presence that makes you stop and pay attention. Eckhart Tolle, one of the most transformative spiritual teachers of our time, explored the hidden forces that shape our behavior, our relationships, and the way we connect with others. According to him, certain inner qualities, when cultivated, not only transform a person from the inside out, but create an almost magnetic pull on those around them. And this pull has nothing to do with effort. It has everything to do with stillness. When you meet a woman who embodies these qualities, you feel it instantly. It is in her voice, in the way she carries herself, in the way she listens without rushing to speak. It is not performance, it is presence. And that presence is what makes her unforgettable. Tolle once said something that stopped many people in their tracks. He said that what truly draws us to another person is not what we see on the surface, but what we sense beneath it. The subtle cues that tell us this person is awake. She is not reacting to life. She is responding to it. She is not performing a version of herself. She is being herself. These are not qualities you can fake for long. They come from a place of deep inner stillness, from facing your own pain without running, from the courage to stop pretending and start living in alignment with who you really are. Imagine a woman who does not need to fill every silence with words. She is comfortable with pauses, with letting moments breathe. When she speaks, her words carry weight because they come from reflection, not from the need to impress. Tolle would say she has stopped identifying with the noise in her mind and started living from the space beneath it. That space gives her a rare depth that most people spend their whole lives searching for. This is not about perfection. In fact, part of her appeal is that she is not perfect and she does not pretend to be. She owns her flaws without letting them define her. That kind of self-acceptance is disarming. It tells you she is not playing a role, she is simply being. And being, as Tolle reminds us, is always enough. You might notice the way she handles conflict. She does not escalate or withdraw in fear. Instead, she engages with curiosity, seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. This is emotional presence in action, and it is a quality that Eckhart Tolle associated with true awakening. The moment when you stop reacting from old pain and start responding from clarity. If you love exploring the deeper layers of life, subscribe to Master's Podcast. Over time, you realize she has boundaries, clear ones, and she enforces them without hostility. These boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates that open and close with intention. They show that she values her own energy and respects the rhythm of her own life. Eckhart Tolle often spoke of the importance of conscious living, the ongoing practice of being fully present in each moment rather than lost in regret or anxiety. For her, this means saying no when she needs to, even if it disappoints someone. It means making choices that align with her truth, not just with what is convenient or popular. She has learned that every no spoken from presence is a yes to herself. Her presence feels grounded. You sense that she is not looking to you for validation because she already knows her worth. That does not mean she is arrogant. Far from it. She can appreciate a compliment without needing it to feel whole. This subtle self-assurance is magnetic because it is so rare. Most people walk around looking for someone else to tell them they are enough. She already knows. I once heard about a woman named Clara. She had spent most of her 30s trying to be everything to everyone. The perfect colleague, the perfect friend, the perfect partner. And the more she performed, the more invisible she felt. One day she stopped, not dramatically, not with a speech or a breakdown. She simply stopped filling every silence, every gap, every uncomfortable pause with effort. And something strange happened. People started paying attention to her in a way they never had before. Not because she was louder, but because she was stiller. Tolle would say Clara had finally stepped out of her mind and into presence. And presence, he reminds us, is the most attractive force there is. When you watch how she treats others, you see a quiet consistency. She does not reserve kindness for people who can benefit her. She treats the barista, the neighbor, the stranger in the elevator with the same level of attention and respect. Tolle would call this living from awareness rather than ego. A recognition that every person in front of you is consciousness meeting consciousness. She understands this not as a philosophy, but as a felt experience. And that understanding makes her less judgmental and more compassionate. Even in the way she dresses or carries herself, there is a deliberate simplicity. She is not dressing to compete. She is dressing to feel at home in her own skin. And somehow that makes her stand out even more. You cannot quite put your finger on why. You just know there is something different about her. She listens, really really listens when you speak. She is not mentally preparing her response while you talk. She gives you her full attention, and in a world full of distractions, that feels rare and valuable. That presence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. Most people have never experienced being truly heard. And when you are in the presence of someone who gives you that, everything changes. Eckhart Tolle believed that when you cultivate presence, you stop trying to control how others see you, and you focus instead on who you actually are, beneath the stories and the labels. This woman has done that work. She is more interested in living truthfully than in being liked. And ironically, that truthfulness makes people like her even more. There was another woman I heard about. Her name was Adele, not the singer, just a quiet woman from Lyon who had gone through a painful divorce at 42. For months, she tried to rebuild herself by staying busy. More projects, more social events, more noise, but nothing worked. It was only when she stopped running and sat in the stillness that something shifted. She began walking alone in the mornings. She began journaling without purpose. She began listening to her own thoughts without judging them, and slowly, without trying, she changed. Her friends noticed at first. They said she seemed lighter, calmer, more herself. Tolle would say Adele had discovered the power of now. She had stopped living in the story of her past and stepped into the reality of the present moment. And that shift changed everything around her. She is not afraid of solitude. She does not see it as a void to be filled, but as a space to recharge and reflect. This comfort with her own company allows her to be more present when she is with others. She is not clinging, not performing, not trying to fill some invisible gap. She is simply there fully, and that fullness is felt by everyone around her. But here is what nobody talks about. When life gets messy, and it always does, she does not crumble. She feels the pain, yes, but she does not let it swallow her. Eckhart Tolle would say she has learned to observe her suffering without becoming it, to hold space for both joy and sorrow without rushing to resolve either one. That balance is part of her quiet power. Most people run from pain. She sits with it, not because she enjoys it, but because she has learned that what you resist persists, and what you allow moves through you. She is selective about the people she lets close, not out of fear, but out of respect for her own emotional space. When she chooses you, it means something. You do not get the sense she gives that same closeness to just anyone. That selectiveness makes her relationships deeper, richer, more intentional. And there is another layer. She does not compete with others in destructive ways. She celebrates other people's wins without feeling like they diminish her own. That generosity of spirit makes her a safe person to be around. You can relax in her presence because you know she is not secretly keeping score. She has stepped out of the game of comparison entirely. And in doing so, she has found a peace most people do not even know exists. As time moves on, she notices something else. Life starts meeting her with a different kind of energy. Opportunities appear where before there were only closed doors. People approach her with respect instead of entitlement. Even challenges feel less like personal attacks and more like invitations to grow. Eckhart Tolle often expressed that when you shift your inner state, the outer world has no choice but to respond. She is living proof of this. The more she aligns with presence, the more the external world mirrors that presence back to her. It is not magic, it is resonance. It is the law of consciousness itself. There are still moments when she catches a glimpse of her old self, the girl who once bent over backwards to be liked, who mistook chaos for passion, who thought love was something you had to suffer for. But now those memories are like faded photographs. They remind her of where she came from, but they no longer define where she is going. She can hold them with tenderness instead of shame, and that tenderness is another sign of her awakening. And when someone new does enter her life, whether as a friend, a partner, or a fleeting acquaintance, she meets them from this place of inner steadiness. She listens differently now, not just to their words, but to their consistency. She notices whether their actions align with their promises. She trusts what she feels in her body as much as what she hears with her ears. Tolle would call this living from a place where the mind and the heart are no longer at war, where thinking and feeling finally move together. This is why her presence feels magnetic. She is no longer slipped between who she is and who she pretends to be. She is whole, and this is where it gets fascinating. That magnetic presence is not about charm or performance. It is about truth, and truth has its own gravity. People who are ready for that truth will be drawn to it. Those who are not will find reasons to walk away, and she will let them. Without chasing, without begging, without losing herself in the process, what once felt like rejection now feels like protection. What once felt like endings now feels like redirection. And every time she honors herself in this way, she reinforces her own trust in her choices. That self-trust is the foundation of everything. More than love, more than success, more than approval. Eckhart Tolle believed that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off parts of ourselves, but by bringing awareness to all of them. The pain and the peace, the fear and the courage, the past and the present. She understands this now, not as an abstract idea, but as a lived truth. The parts of her that once felt like weaknesses, her sensitivity, her deep feelings, her need for solitude, have become her greatest strengths. They are not flaws to fix, they are doorways to presence. She moves through the world filled with a new kind of confidence, not the loud, showy kind, but the grounded, steady kind that does not need to be announced. She knows she can weather storms because she already has. She knows she can be alone because she has learned to enjoy her own company. And she knows that love, if it comes, will be something she chooses from abundance, not from lack, from presence, not from fear. In the end, her transformation is not about becoming someone better to attract others. It is about becoming more present to herself and letting that be enough. And it turns out that is more than enough. Eckhart Tolle would say this is awakening. The moment you stop searching outside yourself and realize that everything you need is already here, already now, already you. She may not have put it in those words when she began this journey, but now looking back, she sees it clearly. She has walked through loss. She has faced her pain. She has stood alone in the quiet and found that it is not empty, but full of her own thoughts, her own dreams, her own strength, her own stillness. And that stillness, that completeness is what makes her truly irresistible. If this resonated with something deep inside you, leave a comment with the word presence. Subscribe to Master's Podcast so you never miss a moment of truth. And remember, you do not need to become someone new. You only need to stop pretending to be someone you are not. The real you is already magnetic.